All right, new crop of videos, new mic placement, and I hope that this is better for you because it is for me. I started off this week with Scream for Us by Molly Doyle, and I will be totally transparent. The only reason that I got this novella is because that TikTok Instagram soundbite that is playing everywhere of the countdown. And I needed to know what it was in reference to. I had no idea. This was this was pure spice. If you are looking for something that is pure spice, but also really dark, like real dark, and a group situation, sure, absolutely. It's a very fast read, and like I said, it is very spicy. Pretty much the point of this is them coming together. It it's Quinn and three dudes in Halloween masks. One's Scream, Jason, and Michael Myers. And I didn't highlight any names, so I don't think we know their names at this point. It is how they meet, and it is the prequel to the rest of this series. Basically, Quinn goes to a haunted house Halloween party in the town where she grew up. It's not a great situation. We don't know the backstory yet. And she meets the Scream dude, and she's kind of like felt up by a guy, and then he Scream dude beats him up, and then basically these three masked dudes beat up everybody and murder a bunch of people that were mean to her in high school, and also they fool around a lot. I will say the spices were written really well. I'm nervous about what happens in the actual book because, oh man, y'all, it went to Murderville real fast. So that makes me a little apprehensive to go full tilt into the story. If y'all don't know how I feel about dark romance, yeah, it's not always for me, but their relationship and how they treat her is great, which is so confusing because of everything else going on. So it might get put the rest of the series might get put on my TBR. It might be really far down my TBR unless you convince me otherwise. But like I said, if you're looking for something very quick and very spicy and you don't mind a little bit of murder, Scream for Us was great. Shakespeare retellings do not disappoint. They never do, and they never will. If done well, if a good Shakespeare retelling, actually based on Shakespeare. This one is Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. And I knew that it was a Shakespeare retelling because this series is if Shakespeare were an auntie, which is I'm pretty sure, which is just such a great name for a series. And I didn't look too far into what I'm just going blind. I go into books blind, y'all. I see them, I think they're cool, I hear good things about them, and I just add them to my TBR. And Dating Dr. Dill has a great cover, and I don't know why. I just put it on my list. So this one I'm pretty sure is Taming of the Shrew. It is an enemies to lovers fake dating situation. I loved it. Nisha Sharma is Indian and she writes from this Indian perspective, this Indian community. And so it's another, I loved it so much. There's like not arranged marriages and love matches and what is this and what is that? Oh my goodness. Here's what I was not ready for in this book was once the spice got spicing, how spicy the spice was. It took a while. It really did take a while for the actual spice to kick in. I will say that this is a spicy book. If you're going to include rimming in your book, then you automatically get a bunch of spice points from me. And Prem has some solid dirty talk. Oh yeah, Prem is our MMC. And Karina, he calls her Rena, is the FMC. And they are just chef's kiss in terms of their connection and their banter and the plot in general and how everybody handles all the mishigas that's going on around the weddings and the work and this and it just there's a lot of family drama, but they're fun. So they get into a fight and it affects both of them, and then Prem thinks, "Hey, we should fake date so that my reputation gets saved and so that you can get money because we're gonna fake engage too." She's like, I kind of want a love match. I don't know. He said, "What if we just fake engage? But what if we just? But what if we just?" So he's wooing her the whole time, and she's just resisting because she's like, "No, I really want a love match, and I don't want this arranged weird thing that you assume we're gonna do and that will work really well." And then they fall for each other, and they decide to kind of get married for real, but not get married for real because Prem still won't believe in love. But their chemistry is undeniable. They actually meet at a bar and make out, which is a very funny story. I think I wanted that story earlier in the book. We kept going back to it. I kept being like, "What happened? I don't understand. I don't understand why everyone's upset. What happened in this at the night they met at the bar? What happened when they were making out? Why is she so mad at him?" I didn't understand that. I wanted that flashback sooner, or I just wanted to be there with them because then I would have understood where both of them are coming from. But I guess it's important that we don't get that because then they don't get that. And when they talk about it, misconceptions or miscommunications are fixed. So fine, fine, Nisha Sharma. I'm just going to have to trust you from now on. But it will, oh my gosh, the car scene, the scene in the car, just all of it, all of the spice was what I was looking for. He checks in with her. He is, oh my gosh, there's like a moment where he's like, "You're not a good girl." Oh, in like in the best kind of way, in just a delicious, delicious way. There are a lot of really fun quips about the culture and the family and the this and that. His two best friends. You're really trying to. Anyway, okay, all right. So here's what I'm gonna say: is I literally finished this book. I'm like, oh, do I just go get the next two and read them right now? Do I just do that? Okay, let me know. Okay, well, not next two. The third one is has to pre-order, but do I just go get the next one and read it right now? Because I kind of want to get the next one and read it right now. Yeah. One day I'll learn to read the back of a book, but today is not that day. I've had The Serpent and the Wings of Night on my TBR. It's actually been downloaded from KU for a while because I couldn't find it. It was really hard to get from my library. And then I found it on KU, and if it ever disappeared, I would have been really sad. So I just downloaded it thinking I'll keep this for as long as I can. I finally got to it. I must have known it was about vampires when I decided I needed to read it. I must have known because I love vampires. But for some reason, when I opened the book and read vampires, I went, "What? This is so surprising." I am quite honestly used to vampires in a more paranormal sense versus a fantasy sense. And if you're not sure what the difference is, go listen to my podcast episode where I do book definitions. But too long didn't read, too long didn't listen. That's on you. That's on you. It's a really good episode. But paranormal takes place in our world with mythical creatures and magic. Fantasy takes place in a completely different world that can be mythical creatures and magic. Not always, depends. So this is fantasy, and the vampires have wings. Okay, that's not the most important part, but it is kind of an important part because there seem to be these like sects of vampires that have different powers and a history of basically genocide and one taking over the kingdom and the other taking over the kingdom, and their wings look different. Not the point. Not the point. We've got Araya and Rihan. Oh, I'm gonna say that so wrong. Sorry, Carissa Broadbent. But Araya and Rihan, FMC, MMC. Araya is human, and she's the adopted daughter of the king of the vampires, and she basically enters into their murder contest in honor of their dark goddess who created them, where at the end she grants a wish to whoever wins, and she's gonna wish to not be a vampire, but it doesn't, honestly, it doesn't matter. This book is light on the romance. I'm just gonna put it out there. It's very light on the actual romance. Araya and Rian are both competing in these games and they decide to form an alliance and help each other because one of the contest things, you have to have a partner or you have to be in a group. So they just paired up early so that they could be good together in their group. And then the actual connection forms between the two of them, and they have to go through this contest together, and they have to, she has to fight lots of vampires, even though she's human. He's a vampire too. Like everybody else in this book is a vampire, pretty much. Everyone that you're going to interact with for any given period of time is a vampire, except for Araya. And so they have to go through this together. I'm always fascinated by how authors take concepts or tropes that I've seen a lot and put their own spin on it. So vampires, for example, there are wings. It's in a fantasy world, so it's very different than, the paranormal vampires that I'm used to. And that was really fun. The contest situation, we've seen it in other series, but this one isn't necessarily geared towards YA. It's not forced, it's fully voluntary, which puts a unique spin on who's involved in these games, who's there. They're all there because they want to be there. They're all there because they want to achieve something from being in this. And they all go knowing that there can only be one at the end of it. Like, you literally, the last person standing is the person who wins in this. So the stakes are very high. For the love story, it felt very expected. That makes sense. Like, of course they fell in love. Of course they were enemies to lovers. Of course they, fought side by side and built a rapport, and that developed into love. I don't know if I felt the love as deeply as they felt. That's what I'm gonna say. I don't know if by the end of it I was like, wow, this is the love of her life. I'm looking at my notes. Yeah, I don't know if I really bought how deeply in love with each other they are, but I got the stakes of it. I got understood it. It ends on a cliffhanger. 3 books are out. I think in her author's note she says there are going to be 5 books, so I might wait to read the rest of them until the whole thing is finished. Does that sound right? Or the next few really worth my time? So one of my favorite things about Libby is that I can read books that I rent from my library on my Kindle, and I'm starting to find that some books on Libby I can only read through the Libby app on my phone, which I don't love for a number of reasons. One, I don't like to read on my phone. I don't like the glowing screen. I have an e-reader that is more similar to a book for a reason, and it's because I don't like reading on a screen. And number two, it's hard for me to find my highlights afterwards. It's just not, it's because I'm used to a certain system. I don't like the new system, and it annoys me. I found the same situation when I read things in Hoopla. Hoopla I'm really trying to use for just audiobooks because I don't like reading on my phone and I find it really hard to get to my highlights. So when Loveless and Fancy Ships came up, I don't know why. I don't know why I rented it. I don't know why I put it on hold a while ago. I must have put it on hold a really long time ago because it came up and I had to read it because it was about to expire. And I had to read it through, and I had to read it in Libby, which I didn't love. This is a family story more than a romance. There is a romance. You know what? Okay, I'm gonna talk about this anyway, but it is light on romance. It is more about family. Okay, you've got Joe and you've got Alex who meet one night in a bar. She kisses him because he's a stranger, and she's got a list of things to do before she turned 30, and one of them is kiss a stranger. So she did that, and it turns out that he is not only her new neighbor, but also works on a boat with her. She works as a stewardess on a yacht, and he's the new chef. So they are so much forced proximity with their work and then their living situation. He has a daughter. Her teenage nieces are staying with her for the summer. And so the daughter and the nieces get on together and they all hang out all the time. But the story really is about Joe and healing from trauma. There is a death in her family before the story starts. And it is about her and her nieces processing this trauma together and figuring out how they move forward in their life. So, trigger warning if you're someone who is not quite ready to read about death or trauma or heal from that, like this is put this book aside. Put it aside. Now the other thing is she and Alex just basically dance around each other this whole book. Will they, won't they? They had a kiss, they didn't have a kiss. I don't have feelings. I don't date. I don't do this. I'm not gonna. They both sworn off love. But they spend all this time together because his kid, her nieces, are, becoming best friends. I think his daughter's 13 and she's a niece who's 13 and 16. And then like they're very sweet together. Her and Alex, it's very sweet. They, become friends first, forced proximity friends with chemistry. And they don't really get together until the very end-ish. I know I spoil it, but it's a love story. You knew that they were going to get together. There is zero spice because there's no room for spice. They make out twice. They have their first kiss, and then they don't have another kiss until almost the very, very end. So this almost doesn't even count as a romance novel for me because it's not about them coming. It's not really about them coming together as a couple. It's about her healing herself. And that does include opening herself up to romantic love again. That is part of her process, but it isn't at the forefront. If I had to say who this story was about, it's about Jo. It's about Jo and her nieces more than even Jo and Alex. And so if no one has told you that, here it is. If you're looking for like a love story, it's not even like a single dad love story. It's her and her nieces. So I guess I got it wrong. Oops. 3 holidays and a wedding. Okay, this was on my physical TBR for a while. I think I bought it around the holiday season and then I never read it, and I'm sad because I should have. I really should have. This was a blast. This is exactly the kind of Christmas story that I've been looking for. It's a Christmas story that is about everyone else in the world who doesn't celebrate Christmas. I had to remember as I was reading this that they placed this book in the year 2000 because Christmas and Ramadan and Hanukkah were all at the same time, and that doesn't happen very often because Ramadan and Hanukkah are based off of not the Gregorian calendar. They move around the Gregorian calendar because they're on their own calendars. This book is, oh God, it's like another book that really isn't about romance. This book centers around Anna and Miriam, who meet on a flight from Denver to Toronto that ends up getting grounded in this tiny little Canadian town that is a Christmas explosion. It's a Christmas village town in the middle of nowhere, Canada. And Anna is half Christian, raised with a Jewish stepmother, and really missing Hanukkah and dealing with a bunch of the feelings about her stepmother and their estranged relationship. And Miriam is Muslim, and her family is headed toward Toronto to a wedding, and they're in the middle of Ramadan, so they're fasting. And oh my goodness, it's so funny. Miriam is Muslim, and her family is Muslim, and how do they exist in a world that seems to be all about Christmas? And Anna is reckoning with this Jewish side of her life that has been missing the last few years. There is love. There is love on both sides. Anna meets a handsome stranger in a bar while she and her boyfriend are fighting because she didn't make it to Toronto for Christmas because she was grounded with a 3-day snowstorm. She could not leave, and he's mad at her for it. And he's a dick. That's all you need to know. Boyfriend's a dick. Miriam, we don't find out about her romantic history until much later, but her longtime childhood crush was also on the plane and gets grounded with them, and they have to navigate that because he also hears her confess to Anna that she has a crush on him. Oh, it's great. It's great. And Anna and Miriam use this time to just figure out what they want in life. They're grounded, they're kind of helpless. This is 2000. No one had a cell phone. They keep talking about the phones being down, and I had to remind myself, oh yeah, the phones were down. You didn't have cell service. You couldn't reach out to people. You had to call a landline and leave a message for someone. And that made the story very nostalgic in some ways as well. Like, oh, that's right. This is the story like Die Hard could be a story because there are no cell phones and because things just happen at a different pace. This book is also zero spice. I ended with completely without spice for the entire end of this week. And I'm not mad about it. Both Anna and Miriam have to grow in their with what they want and learn to communicate their wants and their needs with Josh, Anna's love interest, and Saif. I believe that's how you say his name, Saif, Miriam's love interest. And they both mess up and they both overcome things and they learn to communicate with each other. Like I said, there's zero spice. So if you're looking for spice, sorry, not it. Here's a personal note about me. I don't celebrate Christmas. It's just not gonna happen. But I always feel left out at that season. Like, oh no, I don't celebrate Christmas. Their perspectives in this mosh of Christmas, which is what the world feels like if you're in America around that time, when you're being just inundated with Christmas, but also feeling really accepted and like there's space for you. Oh my gosh, I really needed this. But reading a book that just felt so welcoming to everyone, and like that town is exactly what I wish the world were like. That town gave me hope. That's the town that I hope that this world comes into, because even though there's so much Christmas, they found menorahs, they found halal food, there was a mosque, there were people just like bending over backwards to support Miriam and her family and their fasting. And isn't that what you want? Isn't that what you want? A world where everyone feels welcome, where even if they don't look like you or love like you or pray like you, that they are welcome in your space and you make them feel like that. It was the book I needed to read, even if there was no space.